We humans are the only creatures in God's creation that can create a future. And we do this by the power of both our will and our imagination. When the unexpected of life happens, we can choose how we will respond and how, in partnership with God, we will write the future. Will we succumb to the circumstances that come at us, or will we decide to overcome? Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Lydia and I make faith-based content here on YouTube. I do release new videos every Tuesday. If you're new, welcome. I encourage you to join the family. If you're in a season of your life that you're finding that you're looking for something that will help you build your faith on a firm biblical foundation, this channel is for you. And if you're coming back, welcome back. Hope you're having an amazing one. And we are in the middle of a series talking about becoming unshakable, because it's not a matter of if, but when life happens, we will be shaken. We will experience trials of many kinds. It's all throughout the Old and the New Testament. So it's not a matter of if, but it is our responsibility to make sure that we are not caught off guard. It is said that most people will experience, not even most, everyone in life will experience a minimum of life shakings or traumas. And this can be trauma, this can be loss of a loved one, this can be relational, this can be a health crisis, this can be a financial or business failure, any unexpected change that alters our life. We will all experience a minimum of 5. And being kingdom people does not insulate us, but however, it does give us an advantage in the sense that we will not necessarily experience it the same way other people will. And God has guaranteed that He will help us if we partner with Him, if we align ourselves with His principles, that we can overcome anything that happens to us. But we have to have a mind that is ready, that life will happen, but we will overcome. Jesus said in Luke, "So don't follow me without considering what it will cost you. For who would construct a house before first sitting down to estimate the cost to complete it? Otherwise, he may lay the foundation and not be able to finish. Then neighbors will ridicule him, saying, 'Look at him. He started to build but couldn't complete it.' Have you ever heard of a commander who goes out to war without first sitting down with strategic planning to determine the strength of his army to win the war against a stronger opponent?" Jesus here is talking about the cost of following Him. Last week we spoke about avoiding the unavoidables, but today we're talking about how to respond to the unavoidables. By virtue of being a Jesus follower, you will experience some persecution. It will vary in different degrees, in different stages of life, but you will experience persecution. Expect it. That's part of us counting the cost of following Him. And by virtue of being human, you will experience life shakings. Expect them. And remember, it may not be our fault that we're finding ourselves in the situation, but it is our responsibility to get up. We all know of people who they experience a life shaking, and for some reason they just never seem to get up out of it. They're stuck in that thing, whatever thing that happened to them. They're just stuck. Refuse to let that be you. And today I want to teach you an acronym which is called REACT. This is how we respond when things happen. This is something for us to have in our toolkit, so to speak, so that when these things happen, we are not caught off guard. And the first thing is recognize that you are in a storm. Refuse to waste time being in denial, procrastinating, trying to figure out why this has happened. Sometimes there is a reason to figure out before you do anything. But the first thing, recognize you are in a storm and watch the story you tell yourself. In John 11, when Lazarus died, Martha and Mary could have easily decided that this happened to us because Jesus did not love us as much as He claimed. But they decided that we will not allow bitterness to enter our hearts. We're going to get up from this and we're going to trust that Jesus, no matter what has happened, He still loves us. And even now. Decide that, you know what? God is still faithful, that even now, with this having happened, God can still fulfill what He's placed in my heart. That even now, this has happened, God is still faithful in my life. That even now that this has happened, God still loves and cares for me. Decide to recognize that you are in a storm. Decide to get up and decide that even now, God. Secondly, evaluate your assets. Check, what do you have? Because if God has allowed this to happen, that means He knows and trusts you can overcome it. And God never, ever leaves us empty handed. Throughout the Bible, especially in the Old Testament, it was God always seemed to ask, what do you have in your hand? To Moses, He asked, and Moses had a staff. And with that very staff, He unconventionally parted the Red Sea. He said to the widow who only had flour and oil, what do you have? And she said, I only have oil and some flour. And that miraculously was able to take care of her, her son, and the prophet Elijah for months until the famine ended. And Jesus asked the disciples, what do you have? And they found a little boy with 2 fishes and 5 loaves. But little is much in God's hand. Evaluate. It may seem little, but what do you have? And entrust it to God and allow Him to show you how little can become much. Third, assess possible options and outcomes. Let's look at Proverbs. It says, your plans will fall apart right in front of you if you fail to get good advice. But if you first seek out multiple counselors, you will watch your plans succeed. Assess what are the options that you have in front of you, best and worst case scenarios, and refuse to lock yourself into a situation where you have it's either or. Ask the Holy Spirit. You have the Holy Spirit. He's a spirit of truth. Ask Him, okay, what is the alternative? What is the third alternative? The fourth alternative? You have the mind of Christ. Allow Him to give you wisdom. Do not allow yourself to lock yourself in 2 options. And also, with situations where we are highly emotionally raw or highly invested, guard against trusting your own wisdom. Trust the wisdom of God, but also trust the counsel of your close friends. We have a situation in 1 Samuel 25 where David was running yet again from Saul, and he's hungry, his men are tired, and they've been looking after this man who the Bible literally calls a fool. And David's asking for food. He's like, okay, we've been guarding your workers, making sure nothing happens to them. And he answers him rudely and brutally. And David, being a man of war, he was just like ready to go after him. But Abigail comes at him. The fool's wife, who was actually wise, comes at him and reminds him who he is. And reminds him that killing this fool is not worth it. You're going to mar the story of your life over a fool, because he was emotionally raw, tired, exhausted. So watch for yourself as well. When you are emotionally raw, guard against making rash decisions, guard against making permanent decisions from a temporary emotion. And remember, not every battle is worth your time and your energy. Choose a direction and communicate it. You have the Holy Spirit inside of you. You have the mind of Christ. And Psalm says, who is the person who fears the Lord? He will instruct him in the way he should choose. When you're calm, when you've counseled, when you've listened to the Holy Spirit, trust that God will show you the direction to choose. And once He shows you, choose it and communicate it with those around you, because you're never really in a storm alone. You may be personally experiencing it directly, but what affects you affects those around you. So choose the direction that the Lord has showed you and communicate it to the people around you. And lastly, take action. Once you know the direction that the Lord has shown you, whatever He shows you, however small, take action and have courage. Remember Psalm 138. The Lord will work out His plans for my life. For your faithful love, O Lord, endures forever. Don't abandon me, for you made me. No matter what happens or doesn't happen, no matter who is for you or who isn't for you, no matter who stays or doesn't stay, no matter what you have or you don't have, God will work out his plan and purpose for your life. Stay encouraged, stay at it, stay in the lane that he has placed for you, and never, ever give up on yourself, because God never will. Have an amazing one. That's it for today. Remember, it may not always be our fault that we find ourselves in whatever we find ourselves in, but it is always our responsibility to get up. And if you find yourself in the middle of one now, I pray that you know how to respond now. And if you're not in one today, I pray that you keep this as something that you keep in your toolbox, so that when a life shaking comes, you know how to respond. Love you guys as always. Have an amazing one. Bye.